should we get started?
Yes, sir. Shall we start, sir?
Yes, yes.
So good morning and a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for joining us for the very first HR Conclave by HSSC. My name is Juhi Gupta and I am the moderator for today's event. I am an HR professional with almost 14 years of corporate experience, and in my current role as a corporate trainer, I am delighted to be associated with HSSC as a project lead corporate relations. I would also welcome Mr. Dilip Kumar Sharma and Ms. Parul Tripathi as HSSC associates and co-host for this event. Let me briefly take you through the program flow. Please excuse me. As we know, this conclave has been organized to develop deeper perspectives about how we can impact the world and move into 2021 with a more positive as well as enriched outlook. We will have our keynote speakers share their thoughts during their session of about half an hour each, followed by question answers. And this will be followed by a small award ceremony and a book launch. Few housekeeping rules before we get started. I would request all of you to please be on mute unless you need to speak. You can raise your hands, which is there on the toolbar, for any questions if you need or in case you need to speak. And your questions can be typed in the chat box and we will take up the questions as and when possible. We are also streaming this conclave live on Facebook. So on behalf of HSSC, I welcome all those who are joining us through Facebook Live. We would also be addressing the questions posted on Facebook during the conclave. I would now announce the conclave open.
Awesome. Thank you, Juhi. Superb.
Please join me in welcoming Mr. Hariharan Iyer, founder of HSSC, a multi-talented and multifaceted personality. He is an internationally certified trainer from Ascentive, USA, author of 7 books, Reiki Grandmaster, recipient of Rex Karamveer Puraskar Jyoti, holder of registered trademark of Entertrainer and India's first Entertrainer. Mr. Iyer comes with a vast experience of 25 years in training and development, and it's my pleasure to invite him and take us through the journey of HSSC.
Are you ready?
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Juhi. Can you put off the screen?
Yes, sir, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Juhi. First of all, a very, very warm, amazing good morning to all of you, and my namaste to everyone who has joined us directly through this for this conference, for this conclave, as well as people who are joining us live through Facebook. And I'm extremely delighted to welcome all of you to the inaugural HSSC conclave. So if you see the spelling, we have given it a twist. It's a little different. So it's not just a conference, it's a conclave, where today we're going to learn how we can conquer adversity through the 3 B's approach, which is basically break in, break out, and breakthrough. So I will be doing one summing up session in the end. However, our 3 main speakers are going to take us through this journey of break in, break out, and breakthrough. So our first speaker, Niharika Bhargava, has already joined us. So she will go right after me. So it's my delight to welcome all of you. Thank you, Juhi, for all the amazing support that you've given in putting this all together. And we have put in a lot of hard work in the last 30 to 45 days to make this event happen. My big thank you to all the delegates who have joined us from various parts of the country. Some are individuals, some have come through organizations, And my heartiest congratulations to the awardees, whom I think not everyone has joined so far, but they will join us. And my heartiest congratulations to the awardees who are going to receive an award for their exemplary contribution in the field of HR in the very first HSSC conclave. So I'm also extremely thankful and very delighted to also welcome my associates who are my team members, who are part of HSSC, who work on various projects that we do together. So thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Parul. Thank you, Varsha, for also joining us. And of course, thank you, Jui, for being there and supporting me through this journey. It's our company. We do it all together. So I really, I salute your ownership and thank you so much for putting it all together. So it's a brief welcome address, but however, I'm going to share quickly with you in terms of what HSSC is all about. But उसके पहले मैं अपना एक शेर सुनाना चाहता हूं आप लोगों की शान में. This is basically to welcome the delegates. जुई शेर के बाद छोटा सा म्यूजिक चला देना. Basically, I don't know who has written this, but I really found this beautiful and I took it from the internet. 100 चांद भी आएंगे तो महफिल में वो बात नहीं बनेगी. 100 चांद भी आएंगे तो महफिल में वो बात नहीं बनेगी. सिर्फ आपके आने से ही महफिल की रौनक बढ़ेगी. सिर्फ आपके आने से ही महफिल की रौनक बढ़ेगी. This is a little tribute to all our delegates who have joined us. So इस शेर पे एक छोटा सा म्यूजिक हो जाए जुई. Yeah, इस शेर पे एक छोटा सा म्यूजिक हो जाए. And this music is to welcome all our wonderful delegates who have taken time out and they have invested their energy and time to join us today. Yes, happening, or we'll do it later?
So was it audible?
No, it was not. I think you'll have to share screen. That's okay. No worries. We'll do it later. Okay. So, so once again, a very warm welcome to all our delegates who have joined us today. And let me quickly take you through the journey of HSSC and as to why we are doing this conclave today. So I started HSSC in the year 2009, 11 years ago. And in November, we completed 11 years. So in a sense, this conclave is also a commemoration of that completion of the 11 years. And what an amazing journey it has been in terms of doing a lot of amazing corporate training. It's been a great evolution for me personally. I've grown as a person. I've learned entrepreneurship the hard way, but the beautiful way. And like they always say, the hard way is the sure way. So some of the companies for whom we have conducted training include names like Rolls-Royce, names like Cipla, Glenmark, Howard Johnson, LIC, SBI Life, and the list is really big. And every single client that we have worked with, from the insurance sector, from the BFSI sector, from the pharma sector, from real estate, and all kinds of industries with whomever we have worked, I think it's been a terrific learning experience for all of us. So it's been a terrific journey. Now, I want to cover what HSSC is about in 4 sections very quickly. First is, who are we? I would like to say that apart from being a training and development organization, we are now evolving ourselves into a platform which is enabling people, which is connecting people, and which is creating a community of learners. So basically, I call it ECC formula: enabling people, connecting people, and creating a community of learners from various walks of life. And we have some amazing, robust products, and we are creating community of learners as entertainers, as certified high impact communicators, as corporate training learners. We have recently launched a motivational speaking course. We are coming up with a coaching program. We are coming up with a leadership transformation program. So there's a lot happening. So this is what we are. So what defines us? What defines us? We are also launching trainers through our platform. That's why I said we are becoming more of a platform at this point of time. So what defines us? What defines us is our uniqueness. If I might also say, a little bit of our audacity to try and do something different in life. It is our uniqueness, it's our innovation. Now we have come up with so many innovative products over these last 11 years, and it's a wide spectrum. It's a wide spectrum. We are now also going to come up with a learning certification for trainers, where we are going to certify them on 50 different soft skills and behavioral modules. So we're going to come up with that. We have already created an very HR specific product, where one of our speakers, the first speaker after me, Niharika, has created a tool called Corporate Holistic Fitness Instrument, very, very specific for the HR community. So we would connect with you once this conclave is done, and we'll share more details about that particular product. It's innovative, it's different, it's unique, and we are out there in the market trying to do something very interesting and very exciting. So this is what defines us: the level of energy we bring to the work, the level of innovation that we bring to the work. So what's our vision? Our vision is to build a learning empire. It's like a mall. You enter a mall and you get all kinds of learning products that are available for you, for various sections of people, right from a homemaker to a CEO, a top corporate professional. Every man on the street should benefit from the HSSE course, and that is our vision. So therefore, we want to build a learning empire, and our vision is to build the world's most exciting company, if I might say so. You see, we are very excited people, and I have been a motivational speaker in my life, and that's one of the things I enjoy doing so much. And motivational speakers, as you know, are always excited people. We are very excited, and there's something I learned from my super boss, who said that exciting people produce exciting results. Excited people produce exciting results. So we want to build the world's most exciting training organization, and we are very much on the path. There is such a long way to go. We are looking at building a team of associates of like-hearted people, not just like-minded people, like-hearted people. We want them to come together, and we are building this HR community through this conclave. We might even open up opportunities. This might even open up opportunities for becoming our associates. So that's our vision. It's grand, it's audacious, it's extremely exciting, because it gives you a reason to get up in the morning and get to work. So that's our vision. And what's our mission? How are we going to get to this vision? How are we going to live this dream? How are we going to leave a legacy for people? The mission is to help ordinary people become extraordinary through the power of fun-based learning. The whole mission is to enable ordinary people to become extraordinary through the power of fun-based learning. And our Entertainer certification program is something that defines this whole approach to the learning ecosystem. We are bringing in that kind of energy, that kind of learning, and that kind of innovation into our products, into our programs. And we're establishing that kind of connect with people. And we want to continue to do that. And we want your support. We want people, like-hearted people. I choose the word like-hearted and not like-minded, because the mind tends to change with circumstances. But like-hearted people are people who stay connected despite whatever this context, situations, and the circumstances. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are a little mad. And mad means we want to make a difference. So before I once again welcome all of you, I want to end with one wonderful share by Rahat Indori Saab, whom unfortunately we lost in this COVID period, but a fantastic Shire and amazing. I mean, he's a real entertainer Shire. I mean, watch the way he delivers. And he says that रोज तारों को नुमाइश में खलल पड़ता है, रोज तारों को नुमाइश में खलल पड़ता है, चांद पागल है अंधेरे में ही निकल पड़ता है, चांद पागल है अंधेरे में ही निकल पड़ता है. So we are trying to provide light in the darkness, illuminate people who are in the darkness of ignorance by enlightening their lives with some absolutely amazing content and some fun-based learning. So this is what we are. This is what defines us. This is our vision to build the most exciting training company in the world, and it's our mission to enable ordinary people to become extraordinary to the power of fun-based learning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the inaugural HSSC HR ConQ-Lave, where we're going to learn how to conquer adversity through the 3Bs approach: break in, break out, and break. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And once again, I mean, I can welcome you so many times because I'm so delighted this morning to see all of you here today. So God bless all of you. And I'm sure that you'll have a very enjoyable and a very enriching conclave experience. Thank you so much. And it's over to you, Juhi, again.
Thank you so much, sir, first of all, for sharing the insights about HSSE. And now moving on, we move on with our first session. So our first speaker in today's conclave is an innovator and creator of 3 psychometric assessment tools. An internationally educated psychology honors graduate with a master's from the London School of Economics, certified in more than 16 tests, Ms. Niharika Bhargava, founder Psych4U, comes with a rich experience of 15 years in multiple aspects of human resource management with Indian and international MNCs. She will share her thoughts on how we can break in through psychometric assessment. Ms. Niharika Bhargava.
Are you ready?
Thank you, Juhi. Thank you, Hari. I have been associated with HSSC for the last 2 years, and it has been a great experience. So today we are here, how we can actually break through these adversities through these 3 different things. Break in through psychometric assessments, and that's the part I would be talking about today. Now, this pandemic has really changed the way we work, the way we think, the way we engage with people and organizations. It is important to start introspecting how to adjust to this new work, but also analyze if our internal preferences, motivation, drivers, or engagement initiatives have changed. Also, goals for organizations have changed in terms of keeping their employees satisfied. To assess these changes, we as HR and as leaders need a scientific method of examining organizations and employees in a more rounded approach. Psychometric testing does just that. So let me first define psychometric testing. Psychometric testing is the science of assessing mental abilities and the behavioral traits of a person. Throughout my session, you have any questions, please put it in the chat box and we will try to answer them after the session. Now, I want to actually understand, right? So the first thing, because of this pandemic, we started doing all this introspection. Now, wouldn't it help if we did this introspection through using a scientific method? Psychometric testing actually is very useful and it's very underutilized. And that's the whole reason I founded my company Psych4U, to be able to actually reach out and get people aware of psychometric testing in different areas. Right now, the state of psychometrics in India is the fact that it is only being used for hiring stage. And the other areas where it can be used is not being used at all. My job today is that to leave you with certain thoughts about psychometric testing so that you can see the benefits that I have myself experienced during my journey as being an HR professional, as well as my journey as an entrepreneur, how it can benefit the entire community and any person who wants to understand themselves and try to fit themselves in a role which is most apt with themselves as well as the organization. It is very important that we fit ourselves not based on what society says or by the pressures, but basically based on our own preferences. This pandemic actually taught us to appreciate the little things in life, started helping us also understand what our strengths and areas of improvement are. And so many people lost their jobs and also had to redefine their job skills and sets. That's why at this time, psychometric testing is extremely important in any organization. Now, when I was in HR, I realized that the problems that occur when you do not have psychometric testing in your organization. Sometimes what happens is a person is hired, you spend so much time in the recruitment process, time, effort, you bring different types of people to actually evaluate the person. You go through a robust assessment process, but at the end, you hire a candidate which either fits the role or does not fit the role or ends up working for another profile. Because later, when we get to know the person, we realize that that person was actually better suited for something else. Now, can we actually utilize that time, that opportunity cost that we're spending so much on recruitment process by making it much more scientific and in a way much more holistic? So ultimately, the recruitment process does not end up giving the intended outcome that we are actually supposed to be giving. So wouldn't it make it more sense that if we use a psychometric testing at that time? So this is only one example as how and when you can use a psychometric testing initially. Now let me actually go back to understanding what are the different motivational behind someone actually working. Now, if I was to look into one psychology theory, the self-determination theory. Now, Recchi in 1970s, he created this theory. What was this theory based on? Competence, autonomy, and relatedness. So what it necessarily in layman terms defines self-determination theory, it said that a person normally is motivated if you keep giving them some kind of ways in which they can grow competence and also strengthen their skill set. That's the first one. Second, autonomy. Autonomy, if you give certain kind of freedom to the employee, the person feels that they're in control and they will relate better and start trusting the organization better. Also, they'll be more satisfied. The third would be relatedness. Relatedness is connecting or feeling that the company is a family and wanting to actually go beyond their job role. Now, all these three things are extremely important. As HR and as leaders, we would want all our employees to have all these three. Now, we can give them intrinsic motivation, okay, try to improve that, as well as give them extrinsic motivation. Most organizations focus so much on the extrinsic motivation, which is your outside rewards, and keep rewarding them by either giving them recognition, appreciation, monetary award, and they feel that the employee is going to stick with them for throughout the end of time. But that is not the case. If your intrinsic motivation, which is your motivation which comes from within, that is not managed in a proper way, I will leave the organization because extrinsic motivation is only temporary and it will only make you happy for some time, but it will not in a long term actually benefit you. So right now, today, I want to talk about how we can actually improve our intrinsic motivation by using psychometric and other tools to actually improve their engagement, their competence, as well as giving them autonomy so that they, at the end, want to stay in our organization. Now, isn't that our main objective? That our employees actually feel that pride or sense of pride to be able to connect with our organization, and that loyalty is there even if they knows it. So a lot of times people, some organizations don't have that much awareness of psychometric. So they kind of just do it at the hiring stage, but they never tell the candidate why are they doing it. And also HR gets all this information about the person. Do they actually utilize that information in the correct manner? That is always something which has to be used. So if you're using psychometric, make sure you know the what and how to do it. Because one thing you could be knowing about what psychometric, but when to actually use it at the correct place, that is extremely as important as utilizing it as well. So what I've realized is lots of times you do the psychometric and a candidate comes to me and says, ma'am, what is the right or wrong? How can I actually master this psychometric? Is there any way in which actually I can learn how to kind of game it? So when I tell them there's no right and wrong in psychometric, it is a good fit or bad fit for the organization. So that is very important to understand. There's no right and wrong. Second, which is very, very important, is that when you're using a psychometric, use it as part of your selection. Do not use it as the ultimate decision making for rejecting or accepting a candidate. It always has to use as part of it, because by the danger of rejecting someone based solely only on their personality and the behavioral traits that they have been depicting so far is not actually being more futuristic as to what that person can be in the future. And that's also equally important, because we also have to remember employees are always tested on two things: performance as well as potential. So someone could be a better worker, but should we reject that person based only solely on their past performance? No. Okay. Now, a lot of times this mismatch which happens, okay, when your lack of psychometric happens is because you have outdated hiring processes. You have lack of awareness about the demands of the particular job roles, okay. You also do not have the intelligence training to shortlist suitable candidates. You have lack of clarity on the precise expectations of a candidate, and you have a lack of a competency framework that defines job and organizational competencies. Recruitment process do not consider candidates' personality traits, aptitude, and behavioral tendencies. And all these three are actually included in a psychometric testing. Now, psychometric testing can be used throughout the employee's life cycle. Okay, so at the time of hiring, the time of review, so mid-year review, time of promotion, time of adding role responsibilities, and when an employee is transferring from one department to the other, as well as choosing projects. So it's very important to understand that the actually psychometric testing is not only used for recruitment or hiring, it can be used in all these different areas of the employee life cycle. The test, there are different types of psychometric test. There's achievement test, there's attitude test, and aptitude test. And let me define them even further. Achievement tests are technical tests. Okay. So if you have an engineer joining a manufacturing company, you need to have an achievement test. Attitude tests are surveys to understand what kind of expectations the employee has when they're joining the organization. And this will go to my before point where I did mention that it is important to understand the expectations of the employee so that you can best suit them to the best role for them. And the third type of test, a third type of psychometric test is aptitude test. That is where a lot of people actually do not utilize and it's being underutilized right now. So those are personality tests, verbal reasoning, abstract reasoning, and numerical reasoning. So it's crucial in acquiring intrinsic qualities of the job candidates, existing employees. So it's not only for those people you're hiring, but it's also important to also keep doing this for your existing employees, because those are the people who are giving us the business, who are doing the profit. So what eventually happens is we spend so much time in hiring the right candidate, but we forget them over the way. So it's very important that throughout their journey, while they're working for us, we make sure of their needs, so that we go back to the motivation theory, the self-determination theory of competence, autonomy, and relatedness. So we need to make the environment conducive for this new change to work. The advantages of using psychometric, objective, and impersonal makes recruitment process more efficient by saving cost, reliable indicators of future job performance, identifies training needs, and provides a career roadmap for employees. Interviewing process becomes much more holistic. More employees are fit into roles that suit their personality, able to identify those employees who are burnout, stressed, and might leave the organization, and provides a quantitative measure to qualitative assessments to present a more accurate view of the candidate's employees' capabilities, abilities, leadership potential, personality, and culture fit, and also potential to take on larger or more challenging roles. So look at all the advantages of using psychometric test. And that's why I'm a strong believer that if we use psychometric test in the right manner, we can actually benefit it 100-fold. Okay, it's not only 10-fold, I would say 100-fold, because you're getting a 360-degree of the person rather than just a small section that we get through their education or past career experience. Now, let me talk about the state of psychometrics in India. Okay. People need to reassess their preferences and jobs according to their behavioral needs. And especially in this time of pandemic, we need to be able to reassess your own preferences as well as your employees' preferences to make sure that what we had decided what the needs could be, those have changed over time. Are we actually taking in and being dynamic in our approach in when we are approaching our employees, or are we just using a one-fit-all model throughout? Second is that competitiveness is all on the rise. So you need to distinguish yourself as a company from others. You need to evaluate your candidates and provide high level of talent development tools using scientific methods to improve processes than use the traditional work methods. You need to up your game because so many companies are out there who are just looking to hire the right talent. So what is your difference point is if you provide a much better way in which your cost right now might be a little bit more spending on the employee, but later on it will only benefit you and your organization. 1 out of 3 have never explored psychometrics in India. According to a study conducted by Willis Stars Watson, 56% organization only use psychometric tools. This is a very, very sorry state. This study was done in 2016 and nothing has changed from then. Very, very slightly, but this is still the state of organizations, their awareness of what psychometric does and how they can use it. Also the limitations, because there's so much free literature out there, they don't know which ones would be correct to use, and that's where I think there's a lot of challenge. Mainly also in psychometrics in India, they use it for recruitment or selecting talent, and it's not used for talent development, high potential identification and development, and succession planning. Only about 25% usage in these areas after the initial recruitment stage. And this is very, very worrying. that actually only 25% of organizations know that it should be used in different areas of the employee life cycle and not only recruitment. This psychometrics can also be used for employee engagement, as identifying fit between employees' personality, culture, and values of the company so that the employee is more engaged. And right now, there's very low adoption in India. Why is there low adoption in India? And many of you could answer this question yourselves, but I'll just put out there. And this is what research also says: unavailability of psychometric tools other than personality assessments. Second, it comes at a very high cost, and reliability of tools is always a question mark. So the question for HR and leaders is always, is this tool really reliable? Should I really utilize it? And should I put some kind of cost associated to psychometric? Is it something good to have, or is it something must have? Now, as HR and as leaders, what can we do? Psychometrics needs understanding of three factors: human behaviors, personality, and behavioral interaction in given context, and assessment fundamentals, validity, and reliability. Okay, so if you're using psychometrics, make sure that the tool that you're using has been tried and tested internationally, locally as well. Why I say also locally, but make sure that the psychometric is also for the Indian audience. Many times what happens is we use psychometric, but we're not able to actually capture the essence of this kind of section of people. And we as Indians are different. And is that actually psychometric capturing that beauty? Second is need to be inquisitive on all these three to be able to design appropriate assessment framework. Third, have a holistic understanding of the talent cycle requirements. Fourth, understanding the advantages that different assessments provide at different stages, HR professionals can map talent demands in a better manner. Okay. Now, let me actually go in detail for each of the areas. Now, if I was to look at what are the top 5 psychometric tests used in recruitment, we have the Myers-Briggs, which is for self-discovery, the 16PF, which is for hiring and employee development, DISC profiling, which is most popular and most people use, is for task-oriented versus people-oriented. That means if you want to screen potential employees, DISC profiling is actually quite useful. Verbal reasoning, this is if you want to understand the level of comprehension skills in somebody, and also you want to see whether this person can identify crucial business-related issues and logically draw conclusions from business-related reading. So somebody who's in strategy or decision-making, that person should be tested on verbal reasoning. Numerical reasoning is tests are used to measure someone's ability to interpret, analyze, and draw a logical conclusion. So someone who's in data science, someone who is a CA, who's in the accounting and finance, numerical reasoning would be a good test for using. Competency testing, like personality profile, is to analyze specific abilities. So whenever you are creating a job description or a job role, that's the best time to actually do personality profiling of the person, as well as when you're hiring somebody. Situational judgment test is a test which measures a candidate's suitability based on their responses to work-related scenarios. So this actually assesses their problem-solving ability. And the test which actually is good for assessing is reasoning assessment. This is to measure their individual's inducive and deducive reasoning abilities. Okay. Now, if I was to see in talent development and succession planning, which test could be useful? FIROB, which is for interpersonal skills. Lead survey, it's for understanding the employees or candidates' leadership style. Conflict mode instrument, which is for the team effectiveness. Managerial grid, which is for the management style. Building block is for team effectiveness. Blockage survey is management effectiveness. Burnout survey is potential for burnout or succession planning. And psychometric 360 leadership, which is basically getting feedback from all your peers so you can actually identify the strengths, potential challenges related to work and execution, interacting with others and thinking. MBTI is a good test to also use during talent development and succession planning because it tells us a little bit about their leadership style, also explores their preferences, influence how they manage change. And actually at this time, MBTI is a very useful test to be using. And another test which is useful is Work Personality Index, which actually identifies the leadership potential and helps develop it. Okay. Another area of HR is identifying high potential employees and development assessment process. Now, so in this, which are the tests which could be useful is your personality inventory test, which is your big 5, cognitive ability test, assessment battery, and the 9-box model. Okay, so basically here what I'm doing, I'm listing of all the psychometric tests which could be useful for each area of HR. And what's important here to understand, okay, forget the list of all the tests. What's most important to understand is you have to use different assessments at different areas so that you can actually create a very robust assessment framework. So that is my idea for being able to mention these tests to you. So you know that these tests are out there and how they can be useful because what they measure is very, very important. Another test which is important for the high potential program is Hogan. Okay, so Hogan actually measures the degree to which people can manage their careers, leadership emergence, the degree to which people stand out from their peers, leadership effectiveness, and the degree to which people are able to build and maintain high performing teams. So if you see all the advantages of psychometric, you know when to use it because of the fact that now you have knowledge that there's different tests for different areas. You also understand that the employee life cycle, every stage is very important, and it's not only important to focus on only the hiring or recruitment stage. Then you are some organization that is ready for psychometric assessments or to implement it in your workplace. Now, I can actually help you. I have created and developed the Corporate Holistic Fitness Instrument. That is one of the 3 psychometric tools that I've created, which will help your organization understand the pulse of your employees by culture, employee engagement, health and wellness, as well as identifying the emotions that someone brings when they are doing a certain behavior. Now, all these 4 elements are extremely important, and that's what we have done when we have developed this guy. I'm also certified in all these different tests like the MBTI, FIRO-B, and 16 other tests. And for more details regarding this, you can always reach out to me. If these tests do not fit in, because sometimes, many times, you want a test which is only for your organization, I am able to actually create that tool for you as well. So I'll leave you with a few thoughts, okay? How do we break in through a psychometric assessment? By making sure that we understand the problems if we don't. Second is understanding when we should actually put in the right assessment tools at the right time. And third is making sure that we have a follow-up. We don't forget about it. I have realized that many times as organizations, we want to be progressive or want to look progressive to everybody, to our future candidates. So what we do psychometric in the beginning, but then we forget and we do no follow-up after. So it's equally important to spend that time to actually understand what were the 3 learnings from the psychometric and communicating that to the HR, to the leaders, to the top management, as well as the employee. So they understand that themselves better so that they can fit themselves in a better role. So thank you, everyone. That's all from me today.
Fabulous.
Wonderful, Niharika, and thank you so much for that takeaway on how organizations can benefit through psychometric tools. We will now go ahead and take some questions. And you can either type your questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, or you can unmute and ask the questions. We have a question from Mr. Narendra Kumar, and he says, can there be an indicator when to introduce psychometric test during the employee life cycle?
Yes. So sometimes what happens is if you see that the indicator one will be from the employee themselves, maybe their job satisfaction is low, they are feeling demotivated. Also, they're not performing that well in their current job. That's a huge indicator to realize that that's the time to reassess their needs and maybe see if their skill sets are better fit for someone, for some other place. Okay. Also, it's also important to understand that when you promote somebody, um, you believe that they have the necessary skills for the necessary next job. But many times what happens is they are not even trained for the new skill set. So if there are certain skills that they require for the next stage, you need to make sure. And what, as an HR, I have always seen that historically, people have defined all the needs that every organization or every department requires, and they have been trying to fit people in those boxes for a long time. It's time to actually reassess and identify training needs continuously to make sure that you don't have this I think the end situation is when the employee leaves the organization, and you don't want that. So before that, you need to take these necessary steps to make sure the employee is satisfied.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Niharika. We have another question by Mr. Neil Ghosh, and then we'll take question by Mr. Prasad M. Mr. Neil Ghosh asks, how an employer can overcome with the issue wherein employees who are very much familiar with the assessment that might not give a correct interpretation. And this is my question also.
Okay, so sometimes the employee is familiar with the assessment, and so you want to make sure that it's not bias. That's what I understand, right?
Yes.
The question?
Yes.
So sometimes what happens is, yes, sometimes the candidate comes that they are aware about what the employees are, but don't worry, there's a pattern of questions, and the way that they answer, we can kind of actually filter those people who are trying to also please the employer. Many times what happens is, of course, the candidate wants you to select them, right? Or the employee wants their managers to be happy with who they are. So they try to actually answer in the best possible way. Now we make sure that we have enough number of questions in a particular trait that we're measuring so that we can actually filter that. And also by probing and asking the right questions after they do the psychometric test. So if you just leave the psychometric test and after that don't ask or probe the questions, then you're actually just deciding based on how they've answered. And that is always a danger. Okay?
And that also highlights that psychometric tests are just an indicator and not the decision makers.
Exactly. It has to be part of the process, always. And that is very, very key.
Thank you, Niharika. And now can I ask Mr. Prasad to please ask his question?
Yes, thank you for giving me an opportunity to ask the question. Good afternoon to all of you. My question is like right now, I mean, when the session was going on, respected Niharika ji, she has mentioned many names of the test, and which is at the moment difficult to grasp it and to remember all the names of the test. So my question is, where can I get all this information? Do you have any website for that or something like that, or you have any blogs written out over there? And this is the first question. The second question is, when they do psychometric test, is the psychometric, what I understand is, like it's related to mind, how the employee, what is the mindset of the employee when he gives that test particular thing. And in the due course of time, they will give the test, and the results will be out. But that is only for a short span of time. The entire mindset can be identified, not judged, uh, but can be identified when the employee sticks to the organization for a couple of years or something like that, and then the mind gets revealed in the due course of time. So my question is like, what is the basic significance, or what is the purpose of uh, doing this psychometric test in one short span of time? Are the employees, are the employer or the companies are able to make out what kind of mindset that particular candidate has? So I hope my question is very clear.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Prasad. Very good questions. Okay, so
Niharika, I'm
your
sorry.
first part.
Niharika, sorry to interrupt. I think if you can just keep that answer brief. Our
Yes.
second speaker has already joined us. So thank you.
Okay.
Can
So,
schedule.
yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mr. Prasad. Okay, so the first part of the question, yes, we can definitely send. I'll send you my profile as well with the list of tests which you can kind of utilize, and also the test which I did mention that you can mention use in different areas. I can send you a link for that. Okay. Now, the second part of your question was very interesting to actually see that is psychometric testing useful if people's mental mindset could change over time. Okay. Now, psychometric, let's go back to the definition that psychometric is the measure of mental abilities as well as behavioral traits. Okay. So the thing is, it's not only your mental mindset, it could be the way you are right now, but so I would say that it builds who you are. Okay. It tells a lot. But saying that, can your personality change over time? It can be situational, yes. Okay. So the thing is, what's important is to reassess your behavioral traits over time. Okay. So there are certain tests to be able to do that. So say that, of course, you do your MBTI. You don't have to keep doing it every time you change an organization, but you can do the behavioral tests, which actually see that your behavioral does change over time and how it's improved. Okay. And I think there were two more questions, I think.
Yeah, I
So,
think you could
But I
probably.
think, yeah, we
uh,
can address them later.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll address them later. Niharika, you can just put in your contact details in the
Yes,
chat.
I'll just put it.
Uh,
I'll put my
we can
phone
also,
number.
we will also share it later. We will share the speaker profiles and their contact details in the WhatsApp group also. So, so you can kind of get in touch with them. Just want to make one remark to kind of conclude this session before I hand it back to Jui. Uh, the whole idea of doing this session and starting with Niharika was, how can you break in through psychometric assessments in this kind of a context that the world is going through? How can you kind of understand yourself better? That's the whole idea. How can you understand yourself better? I have immensely benefited from psychometric instruments myself. I am an internationally certified trainer for a behavior styles workshop, and it is based on a certain psychometric analysis, a psychometric instrument. And it really changed my life because it gave me so much better understanding of who I am. And I think HR needs to play that role, not only from an organization perspective, but through the psychometric instrument, can the individual understand himself better? Whether it is a DISC, whether it is a FIROB, whether it is an MBTI, whichever instrument. So even when we developed Kai, our corporate holistic fitness instrument, we put in the 9 emotions of the Navrasa as a tool to understand what are the various emotions people bring to the workplace. And I think that's the key. That's the key. Can you break inside yourself through psychometric instruments? And I think Niharika does such an amazing job. And she's one of the, I don't know of any other psychometric assessor that I have not come across who develops instruments by herself. I think that is fantastic. She's not only certified for 15, 16 instruments, she can also develop and customize those instruments for organization. So you can actually create an instrument for your organization, and your organization can use it for internal purposes. And I think that's really fantastic. Niharika, thank you so much. I mean, your sessions are
Thank
always
you. Thank you, Hari,
so full of
for giving me this
information.
platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Niharika. You are a wonderful associate, great friend, great colleague, and it's wonderful to have you. And what a great start to the first HRSSE HR Conclave. Thank you, Niharika. Thank you so much. Over to you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Niharika, for that great insights. And moving forward, we now move forward with our
Yes, thank you, Niharika.
thank you to you all.
Yeah.
Now we move forward with our next speaker, Mr. Gaurav Bakshi. Mr. Bakshi is an MBA from Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, and has been part of the FMCG, retail, and financial service industry in India. He has made an exemplary contribution to leading organizations like Dabur India, PepsiCo, Fitness First, and Rail Gear, to name a few, and has been recognized for professional excellence and contribution to business HR on multiple occasions. His ventures Trackboard is the official vendor community platform for SHRM India and helps people practitioners in finding credible service providers for the full spectrum of their HR requirements. In his session, Mr. Bakshi will help organizations discover how they can break out through digital learning. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Gaurav Bakshi.
Are you ready?
Over to you, Gaurav.
Hi.
What a
Well?
Gaurav, sorry, Julie. I have to say that I'm so delighted to see you, Gaurav, here. And thank
Pleasure
you
is
so
all
much.
mine. I
Thank
mean,
you
it
so
looks
much.
like I've just entered the Oscars for HR, and such a fantastic, peppy welcome. So thank you, Hari. I mean, it's so much like your signature style when you welcome people, even in your programs. My compliments to you are
Thank you, Gaurav.
of the way you've really structured the whole space of your work. And I'm sure all of us who've joined this conference today know that Hari is not just a trainer, he is an entertainer, and he is actually much beyond. And one has had the privilege of working with Hari in various interventions, and I must say that the beauty of his learning sessions really lies in how he beautifully connects real life to organizational success, and how he brings in beautiful flavors of Bollywood, of cricket, and of so much more that we all very closely relate with into the whole space of learning. So, and very very few people have actually been able to help people learn while they sing and dance and enjoy themselves. So, big compliments to you,
Thank
Hari.
you.
And
Thank you,
really,
Gaurav.
thank you for having me in this session. I heard a part of the previous session, and I think it's been a fantastic start. And I wish HSSE a whole lot of luck in the year that comes ahead. And
Thank you, Gaurav.
so I am actually not as much a monologue person. So I like to maybe keep it a little more conversational as things go along. Maybe I'll try and bring up my own perspectives about how digital learning is evolving and what are organizations really uh, dealing with when it comes to digital learning, and maybe what's the path ahead for you, and maybe then we could get into a few questions as well. Firstly, my compliments for all of you who've come here to learn, because learning, as we know, maybe begins even before we are born and maybe continues until our last breath. There's something or the other the life continues to teach us. And different people learn different things in different ways, and organizations have, I think, come to realize the fact that they're dealing with individuals, and learning today is no more a broad brush thing where the same stroke will work for all folks. So different strokes for different folks is really the flavor of what learning is all about. And you know there have been times, I mean, I would have seen learning over a couple of decades now, but I think ever since World War II and things beyond, the whole space of learning started evolving. And until not many years back, maybe about 5 years back, when we looked at learning, it was a fair degree of nine box approach. Where typically organizations would, at the beginning of the year, look at a training need identification and, maybe set up a calendar, uh, which is a fair structured calendar. And then they will, chase people for nominations, and then people wouldn't attend. And, a lot of things like that is what we've sort of seen learning through the lens of. And now suddenly in the last 5-7 years, we've seen learning in a whole new lens. The way organizations are dealing with learning and the way individuals are dealing with learning has completely undergone a paradigm shift. Obviously, situations like COVID have sort of expedited the need for digital learning. But what I can say is that organizations have today come to realize that learning is not just a good to do thing, and it's not just something which the training department is supposed to do. And today we have a concept called learning organizations. Right now, learning organizations are typically organizations who are using the whole learning paradigm to constantly evolve in the context of the changing times and be able to perform better. And that's the state in which we are looking at learning outcomes right now. So organizations on the path of learning and mature organizations completely realize that, okay, learning is not the ownership of the learning or the training manager, but really an organizational priority which can help the organization, help them perform much better, in the market, and help them stay competitive. So that's the whole sense of learning, the way things are really changing. Couple of things which really stand out, and complement this aspect, is that we've seen learning from a skill perspective, right? I mean, we've seen that learning was always an element which started with identifying the training needs. So I think as life evolves, we have evolved from needs to desires, because now as the baton of learning is equally shared with the individuals, now they want to not just learn what the organization wants to serve them, but also learn what's in their line of interest. And you'd be surprised at the way individuals are learning complementary skills. Just for example, you may have a great programmer who may want to actually pick up a course on storytelling, and you possibly, when you were designing the learning calendar, would never have envisaged a training need for a programmer to actually go and pick up a course out of his interest and passion in, let's say, storytelling. So that's the one paradigm which is changing, that the old mindset of, okay, this is an engineer or this is a sales manager, and hence we'll only give them communication skills, negotiation skills, or influencing skills. I think that paradigm of very micro view of looking at learning needs has changed, and now it's really all about how do you serve them a large bouquet, a large platter of programs, and let them choose what they want, and something which you possibly would have never imagined that can really help or sort of benefit them. So that's the one big paradigm in learning which has really changed as such. The other important thing which I see changing dramatically is that learning was always seen as being able to build longer term skills, right? I mean, you put in a program, you put in a person in a program, and then you realize that, okay, a line would always ask that, okay, what's the benefit and how do we really measure the outcome of learning, and so on and so forth. And learning would actually transpire into acquired skills over a period of time. And now as we look at learning is getting integrated into the flow of work. And that's the big paradigm that organizations need to really adopt and deploy. What I mean to say is that imagine if you are a medical representative and you're sitting at a doctor's place telling them about a new salt or a new compound that your organization has launched. And let's say if there is a query which is technical, is there a place in your LMS where you can quickly go and see and look up and be able to address the query effectively. Point I'm trying to bring in here is that learning has really gone to the context of being able to provide individuals with tools and knowledge and information to be able to do their jobs better on a daily basis. So from being only a long term skill building mindset to helping people do their jobs better on a day-to-day basis while continuing to build their long-term skills, while continuing to give them holistic experiences and letting them choose the path they want to take for the times to come is how I see the learning format evolving. And obviously digital has a large role to play. I mean, if it was not for digital, none of this would have been possible. And hence the investment in digital and the way the space is very fast evolving. So we'll talk a little more about that. um, so that those are the two important things which really have happened. And now I just want to quickly get into some of the aspects of possibly where organizations are. And there are organizations who are yet looking at learning from a piecemeal perspective, and we keep getting requests that कि यार एक अच्छा सा program कराना है team building पे, leadership पे. So there are organizations who will keep coming and saying that, okay, help us solve this need. And then there are organizations who will come and say that, okay, just a tick in the box kind of activity, that okay, posh compliance is necessary for us to do, and we have a large widespread organization. वैसे तो training classroom चलता है, लेकिन how do we certify so many people? So can we actually use digital in a one-off manner? And then you have organizations who are using digital in a very widespread 360-degree manner, where they have been able to give their people the ability to learn when they want to, how they want to, in their own space, in their own time, at their own pace, the topics they want, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a journey, and gradually we see a lot of, I mean, multinationals mostly I see are already up there, but also Indian organizations are today making up the investments to make sure that their learning strategy is very blended. And what I really mean by blended is, I'm sure you all know it, that for a long time, we've actually deciphered learning as training, which is no more the case. So the whole definition of learning is really broadened. And in the blended context, I would say it's a 70-20-10. And a 70-20-10 really means that 70% of skills that you give people are skills they actually would pick up out of experiences or on the job. 20% of skills or experiences they will pick up is what they will pick up through their peer group, or or their colleagues. And the remaining 10% is actually what you can drive through specific courses. Now when you look at digital learning as a paradigm, you've got to make sure that uh, your strategy is holistic and operates on the 70-20-10, because otherwise remember that you're only you're as good as, I mean, even if you're doing a great job on classroom and other courses, you're as good as a 10% impact. So unless you are able to really harness a culture of learning where learning as an agenda is co-owned, not just by the HR function or the training function or the employees or the leadership or the line managers, until all of us come together, it's not going to happen. Um, and in this context, I would quickly want to sort of talk to you a little about how some of the specific things are changing from an HR standpoint. And when HR approaches digital learning, what are some of the other things in strategy which change? So the first thing is, like I mentioned, from being able to cater to a large bouquet from needs to desires, right? And that's not possible if you try and create programs all by yourself. I mean, there were times when we have spent maybe months altogether, maybe 5 months, 6 months building a particular course. But the reality is that today the shelf life of employees, and hence the shelf life of skills, is so much crunched up that the role of HR today is moving from being creators of programs to really being curators of programs or curators of learning offerings. So how you pick and choose and how you become a catalyst by not just designing. Of course, you will continue to create programs which are core to your organization, but a large part of what you do as a learning practitioner today, especially in the context of digital learning, will be towards curation. We already talked about the whole blended context. So when you curate, you've got to ensure that it's not just the programs, but also the experiences that you start curating. And are you looking at your IJPs properly? Are you looking at your career journeys properly? Are you looking at your people planning process properly? Are you being able to integrate your digital learning paradigm with some of the other frameworks in HR to give people a holistic experience? uh, the other important piece which is really changing is this whole push to pull this thing. So, we've got to be able to take a back seat and let the employee or the individual start driving their own learning agenda. I mean, I used to work for PepsiCo once upon a time, early days, and what we did those days is what we, in order to create that pull mentality in learning, is we created a program called Learn Smart. So on the day of joining, when a person joined the organization, they used to get a Learn Smart card, which was like a debit card loaded with learning currency. So depending upon your level, you would get, say, let's say, a notional value of 30,000, 50,000, or 100,000 of budget to be able to spend on your learning requirements, which you could online book and go through the Learn Smart program. So a very beautiful way, and we used to market it very, very, very aggressively, and amazing outcome it gave people. It gave people the authority to decide what I want to learn, obviously in line with what their managers felt. But a beautiful example of how one could see the whole paradigm shift from push to pull. So in the context of being able to create a learning organization. The other important thing, I want to talk about is that learning managers and organizations constantly are trying to answer this question on ROI. And I, a while back, talked about the fact of integrating learning in the flow of work. And I think that's your answer to the ROI on learning. Because imagine if you had solutions which would help people do their jobs better on a day-to-day basis, that's your impact right up there. And obviously your longer term skill paradox sort of adds on to that. The other important thing is that the whole life is getting very consumerized, and I'm sure you have heard this earlier, but at the sake of repetition, I want to say that today you're spending so much time on your mobile phones. Constantly there is Facebook, there is LinkedIn, there is Amazon, there is Flipkart, there is Twitter, and so much more happening around you, that you're used to using technology in a certain way and of a certain quality and a certain wavelength. And when you go back to your workplaces, imagine if you have something which is elementary, you would really not have interest to learn. So your digital solutions and your digital architecture has to stand out and be consumer like. And when I say consumer like, it obviously means that the whole context of artificial intelligence, machine learning, so on and so forth, are already built into that, right? Because today, that when you talk about buying something, even before you realize, and when you open Amazon, that's the first thing you get to see. And that's the distance we have to travel in learning. Let's say if somebody is you know really passionate about 4 or 5 areas, your learning system should be able to give him or her that solutioning. The other piece that I'd want to say is that in the context of organizations wanting to get on this path, I would say a lot has evolved in very, very small period of time. It was not very long ago that e-learning started evolving as a concept. And while organization was still thinking that, okay, we need to get started on this journey of e-learning, suddenly you realize that LMSs came in, and then mobile learning came in, and then micro learning came in, and then MOOCs came in, and then LRSs came in, and then learning experience programs came in. So suddenly now you have so many different waves of technology evolution which have happened in the last 5-10 years, often organizations get stuck in being able to decide, okay, where do we enter, right? And should we, even while we are starting, should we really go and invest in the best and the most evolved solution, even while the culture doesn't support it, or should we invest in something which solves our purpose right now? So there's a lot of confusion out there in organizations that we continue to hear and help them sort of resolve their thinking around that. But what I can say is that we have seen that organizations continue to struggle with either deploying solutions which may just serve their needs for 1 or 2 years, and then again their investments have to come back, or we've seen organizations really buy something and really not being able to use it, right? uh, I think there is no right or wrong here. The only thing is that every organization is unique in its own sense, and therefore the learning platform also has to be custom to the organization in that sense. But one of the tips really is to be able to get something modular, which can evolve as you evolve in your learning maturity curve. Maybe you could start small, and then gradually the same technology can offer you the other layers that you can keep adding up. And what you've also got to realize is that today learning is not just about learning. I mean, you've really got to dress it up holistically. There are elements of engagement, there are elements of experiential learning, there are elements of gamification, there are so many elements which will help you achieve that blended context of 70-20-10, even digitally, right? And when you do so, one of the other important things I would like to say here is that remember that the journey of a consumer or an individual as an employee has now also changed from being a learner to being a contributor in the whole process, right? So all of us know that there is so much intrinsic that we know about our organizations, irrespective of the roles we play in. And how do you harness the intrinsic learning through a learning platform or a knowledge sharing mechanism is how your organization will propel itself further in being successful. I'll give you a classic example. I will not name the company, but a large government organization came to us, and it was a refinery. And they said that, Gaurav, we are facing a very unique challenge. Almost all our senior leaders are retiring nearly at the same time. And what that meant was that maybe in the next 1 year or 2 years, uh, all of their senior leaders are going to retire. And while there were manuals and everything which were there for them to fall back on, there are so many intrinsic things that they know about the place, about the refinery, and you can understand how complex those situations can be, right? And the only way that we could suggest to them was to be able to create knowledge management frameworks integrated with learning management frameworks, so that before people actually get out and retire, the organization doesn't lose out on so much wealth of knowledge that sort of existed. Um, so so that's the one piece. The other piece that we often recommend people when they are on their path to creating their learning strategy is to be able to understand what a learning persona is. So typically in marketing you would have learned of consumer personas, and similarly we suggest that as an organization you pick up your top popular 4 or 5 roles and try and build learning personas around incumbents in that role. So let's say if you have a sales manager, imagine what his persona is like. What in your mind is the ideal sales manager for you? What kind of background does he come from? How does he typically spend his day? How does he where does he hang around? What kind of social behaviors would he have? And then you have to see that how do you create your learning framework which can beautifully integrate into his life, his space, his way, right? So how you use a little bit of science of the consumer mindset as learning practitioners will also help you sort of drive these strategies better. So yeah, that's that. I don't want to talk too much. I think Hari, that's in a nutshell that some of the messages that I wanted to share, and I'm happy to take any questions. I don't know if I've overrun time or I've spoken
No,
very
no.
little, but I wanted to keep it crisp, and that's it.
So timekeeper is Juhi, so she will tell you whether you overshot or not.
I don't think I would have overshot. I
Yeah.
think I just maybe have taken 10 minutes, but maybe I've taken more. I don't know.
She is the boss of this conclave. She will tell us when to start and when to end.
Certainly.
I'm not the boss here, sir. We are a team. And Gaurav, you were very much in time. And we do have few questions for you. First of all, thank you for the wonderful insights and certain things which have actually changed my perspective also towards digital learning, and a few points which have helped us clear our doubts. So we have a question from Niharika. She says, can digital learning replace classroom or physical learning?
Well, that's not the intent, I would say. Like I said, it's all blended. So nothing is going to get replaced. In fact, digital learning is going to complement classroom learning. And if you really look at today, a lot of instructor-led programs are happening online. And so that's pretty much classroom in the old sense, just that we are using technology while we can't meet. So I think the old world charm is much needed, always going to stay. But digital will bring in solutions when physical can't happen, is the way I look at it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
yes,
Joy, if I
yes, sir.
might
Please
just
go ahead.
add there,
Yeah.
the reason we are having this session on breakout through digital learning is once you break in, you know who you are, what you are as a person and as an organization, then you also now need to explore ways to break out and reach out. And the only way you can do that today, apart from the traditional way, which, and that's what Gaurav has been insisting on, blended learning. So the classroom is not gone away, but it's definitely got diluted. So which means now people are now open to learning through the virtual medium also. However, a misconception is that many people think webinar is that way. Webinar is just a substitution for your physical classroom. The real challenge, the skill, is to engage audiences through the e-learning platform. And the reason we are having this session also is because HSSC today is ready with an e-learning platform. We are ready to offer LMS solutions. We are ready to offer B2C programs. We are ready to offer B2B content. So, and we have done this in association with multi-node solutions. So Dilip Sharma, if you can come on video, please, Dilip. Yeah, so that's Dilip Sharma. And so Dilip and me have been working on this during the lockdown, and it's a great transition. It's a fantastic transition, and for trainers, for HR, it's a next step of reinventing the way you learn and the way you impart learning. And so we are offering certification programs, we are offering value-added sessions, and we are offering motivational programs. And we are also coming up with a learning champion certification, which we will tutor online. We'll do a TTT of 50 modules for trainers and for HR professionals. You want content on a platter, we're going to give it to you. And so that's the kind of approach that we are taking, and that's the future forward, if I might say so. So I think I just wanted to kind of highlight why we are doing this session, and also one of the purposes of objectives of this conclave is also to share what is the level of readiness that we have as an organization, and also for organizations to introspect. Are you ready not for the future but for the present? Are you ready for the present? And I think a lot of companies are struggling getting ready for the present. We talk too much about the future. I have a friend who says, the future is always bright, but what about today? So are we making today bright? So that's the insight I just wanted to kind of add on to what Gaurav was saying.
Absolutely.
And we have Sandeepan share his views that digital learning is a helping hand, but it can never replace face-to-face classrooms. And I'd like to add a little insight here. That's a recent experience. We have been associated with the PSU, and usually in PSUs you have all classroom trainings. So now, because of the pandemic, situations changed, and people were not aware how to do that. But then, because trainings are an integral part in a PSU, so what happens is they had to overnight think over of a solution. And since we had digital solutions with us, so now the challenge was how to get it implemented and make people ready. So I feel as an HR, it's the role and responsibility of an HR also to help people run through that change. It will not come overnight, but then certain perceptions need to be break. So in PSUs, usually people say we cannot do it. We have never done digital training, but trust me, now this PSU is going digital for the next 2 years.
Awesome.
So yes, I agree with Sandipan that it cannot replace classroom trainings, but then evolution is the need and we evolve. So this is I really wanted to share this experience in this conclave that we are evolving. And like Hariharan sir also said that it's time that people should actually um, take care, and they need to actually see that how changes has to be made. They need to accept that, otherwise you will go obsolete. And Gaurav sir has actually shared with us beautiful things such as the push to pull learning effect and the learning persona. I really loved that learning persona. So thank you, sir, for sharing such beautiful things about how digital learning can be the breakout in today's and the coming years or the coming scenarios. Thank you so much, sir, for that.
Pleasure is mine. All the best. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. That was really amazing, and also delighted to welcome Mr. Narayanan, who's our next speaker. So, Narayan, welcome. And Narayan,
Thanks, Hari.
Gaurav, both of you also know each other. So, it's good to have uh, familiar and highly amazing people with us today. Thank you so much, Narayan, for joining us. So, Jui, can we give a thank you applause for Gaurav Bakshi
Yes.
so that we increase the Oscar feeling for you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav, sir. And now,
So, Jui, that applause did not play.
sir, there is some problem with my audio. Let me just check that.
Okay.
I'll give him a physical
Okay.
applause.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
now, as we move forward, I would like to thank, first of all the attendees who are here in the meeting and also on Facebook for staying with us. I would request you to please be present till the closure. And as we move ahead, we are moving ahead with the most prestigious section of the conclave, which is the HR recognitions. I'm a firm believer that HR can be considered as the heart of an organization. For better business success and enhanced engagement and management of the workforce, HR plays a vital role in today's growing organizations. It is an honor for HSSE to recognize people from the HR fraternity for their valuable contribution to the industry. I invite Mr. Hariharan Iyer to join me for the e-recognition ceremony, and we begin with our first set of awards, which are for our thought leaders. Sir, over to you.
Right. So, okay. So, if you can just put off the screen for a second, for a
Sure,
minute.
sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So, before we go to the next speaker, and we request Narayanan, sorry to keep you waiting for 5 minutes, but this is a wonderful initiative that we have taken, where we want to recognize people who are making an exemplary contribution in the field of HR. And I think no conclave is complete without the stalwarts getting the due recognition. So basically, we have two categories that we are nominating from HSSE, and also we have received one nomination from an organization. So one is the thought leader, and the second is the torch bearer. So a thought leader is somebody who has made a significant contribution, an exemplary contribution in the field of in the field of HR by bringing in some innovation, bringing in some new thoughts into the system, and thereby making a difference. And a torchbearer is somebody who has taken a lead in creating an organizational transformation, either as a consultant or as an employee of that organization. So both these categories are of people who have had a reasonably good experience. They have gone through the ups and downs in their field, in their careers. So they have seen the rough patches. They have also seen the wonderful patches, and they have taken initiative to make a difference to the space that they belong to. So, Jui, can we start with the Thought Leader Awards? So, I would request when the person's name is announced, to please come on video, and I would request everybody to be on video for some time now, so that we can acknowledge the contribution of these exemplary HR professionals. And I think this is a proud moment for them. So our first award, Jui, is your audio working?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so can we
Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up.
Thank you. So big round of applause to Mr. Dev Kumar, who's the founder of Vasutas HR Services Private Limited. And we award him as our first awardee 2020 Conclave Thought Leader for his exemplary contribution in enabling various organizations through innovative talent management solutions. He brings in more than 25 years of experience working in the manufacturing and service industries. He has served beautiful organizations like Maruti, Reliance Industries, Reliance Communications. So congratulations, sir. And it is such an honor for us that you are present with us today. And we would like to hear a few words from you on what's your feeling and any message that you would like to give for the HR fraternity.
Thank you, Hari, and thank you, HSE, for honoring me. I worked for 25 years for various organizations. So now for last 2 years, I'm into consulting. So what made me to come into this field is, what I'll say, the area in which I am working right now is like evolving the HR in the SMEs and the startups. So what we have seen, and a lot of HR professionals they must have also observed, that a lot of things are talked about the very conservative approach of owners in the SMEs and the startups towards the HR initiatives. So what I am trying to see that if we can make people understand what is the long-term value of HR as a profession and as a good practice in the organization, and they can, if we can change their thought process and can make HR evolve in the say medium-sized organization and the small-sized organization. So that is what I am trying to do from my side.
Awesome, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us and also accepting the honor from our side. Thank you so much for that, sir. Julie, you want to say something about your mentor?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say something about him. I cannot thank him enough, because whatever I am because of him. He has changed the mindset about HR. Because when I was doing my HR in MBA, people used to tell me, "Arey, HR is only for hiring and firing." But he is one person who made me believe that HR is not just hiring and firing. It's much beyond that. And he's given me the liberty to actually experiment in HR. We've done a lot of work together, and now also I've been associated with him, and I'm still learning under his guidance. So thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful guidance and being there for me. Thank you so much.
You're always welcome, Jui.
Thank you, Jui. Thank you, Dev sir. We'll now go to the next Thought Leader Award. And we'll once again have a stand-up music for our champion. So let's welcome Sanjeevani Patel, Director at
For
Mind
the
Advisory Services.
champions, for the champions, stand up, stand up, stand up. For the champions, stand up. For the champions, stand up, stand up, stand up. For the champions, stand up.
Yes, so Sanjeevani Patel, how are you?
Good, Hari. You're an expert in giving surprises, huh?
So let me read this citation for Sanjeevani, Director at Thought Leader 2020 HR ConQ-Lave. It's being presented to Sanjeevani Patil, Director at Mayan Advisory Services Private Limited, for her exemplary contribution in enabling various organizations develop robust HR processes and systems. So Sanjeevani, great colleague, great associate, great friend, always there. After a few calls, some people say that you are always available at the first call. She's not, because she's very busy. So I do manage to get to speak to her. But I'm so delighted that you accepted this honor from our side, Sanjeevani. A great professional who quit a corporate career, doing exemplary work with SMEs, exemplary work helping smaller organizations with such a great need there for HR processes and aligning those systems. So Sanjeevani, 2 quick words from you, and thank you so much. And congratulations once again.
Thanks, Hari. And I won't take more time because, we have 45 minutes hardly left. So thank you, Hari. And maybe we all, are here, and I always tell my colleagues, my friends, my clients that, that I firmly believe, and we all should believe that for a pace of any organization success, okay, depends on 2 factors. One is the kind of funds that the person has or the owner has, and the kind of people that he's building, right? So while we are not financial experts, we help in building right team and creating right framework for the businesses to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeevani. And it's wonderful to work with you always. And we look forward to, she helped us do our first big Kai project where we did for almost 200 employees. We did a survey for a manufacturing company. So thank you so much for that. And we look forward to a great association going forward also.
Same here, Hari. Same.
Thank you so much.
All
So
the best.
Dev sir, Sanjeevani, you will receive this on email. So please do put a nice frame around it, take a printout and keep it there. Everything happening virtually right now. Would love to give it to you personally. But I hope you appreciate the sentiment that comes with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Yes. Now let's move to the Torchbearer Awards. And this is where I will announce, but I'll let Jui speak more.
Thank you. Thank you so
Because
much,
she has
sir.
really worked hard in identifying the right kind of people to be awarded.
Thank you, sir. And it's not possible without you. So moving ahead, we are now moving ahead with the Torchbearer Awards. And as a torchbearer, the people who have been recognized in this category have been at the forefront, suggesting and implementing innovative ways to redefine and redesign their organization processes and systems. And with that, let's move to our first torchbearer, which is Ms. Gunjan Gupta. So Gunjan,
Yes,
can I have
let's have the music.
And
for
Gunjan,
Gunjan.
Stand up for the champions, stand up, stand up,
Thank you so
stand
much.
up.
Thank you so much.
For the champions, stand up. For the champions, stand up. Stand up, stand up. For the champions, stand up. Stand up, stand up.
Thank you, Gunjan.
Thank you
And-
so much. Thank you,
So
Mr.
Jui, please read out the citation and then we let Gunjan speak.
Yes, but before that, I would also like to share about Gunjan. Gunjan has been working with SEMUC Technologies as a senior manager HR for past 12 years, and she's a perfect example of being a business partner to the organization because she is not only working as a HR transformation, but she is supporting her organization in enterprise accounts management, finance, and sales. And now I move forward with reading the citation. HR ConQ-Lave 2020, the torchbearer. The certificate is presented to Gunjan Gupta, Senior Manager HR at SEMUC Technologies, for leading organizational transformation initiatives, which have resulted in more people-friendly systems and processes. So many congratulations, Gunjan, and we would like to hear a few words from you.
And that's quite an achievement because generally people say processes are a pain, but you managed to get them interested and excited about those systems. So congratulations to you, Gunjan.
Thank you so much, Juhi. Thank you so much for such wonderful words. And thank you, Mr. Iyer. It's a great platform. I have not been able to attend the complete conclave, but then whatever part I have been able to attend, it has been really wonderful to have so good speakers all around coming in across joining this. And we hope to have many such conclaves going forward. And thank you for appreciating all this thing and bringing that onto forward as the platform together where we all as a team can meet each other and express each other's thoughts and way. Yeah, it has been a tough journey, I know, but then thank you so much for all the support. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful, Gunjan. And one of the conditions in these awards is that all awardees have to become emotional. So
he can tell you more.
So we appreciate if you become emotional.
Yes.
Because every recognition is a moment of pride. Yeah. And you've been nominated by your organization, so all the more reason why
so
you should feel proud about it.
Thanks to my complete team and appreciate they have considered me as a part of this award, and it has definitely going to be something which is going to be in my heart always, that I have been a part of this organization for so long and I've been able to do whatever I could do during the time I have been in this organization, and I continue to take this forward ahead.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Gunjan, once again. And we move to the second award under this category. Can I have Pooja on video, please? Pooja Nath.
Yeah. Hi, Juhi.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Hi, Pooja.
Hi, Juhi.
Okay. So a little brief about Pooja. Pooja comes with a rich corporate experience of 14 years before venturing as an entrepreneur. In her current role as an HR transformation consultant and founder of Metaphor Consulting, she has partnered with startups, SMEs, and MNCs on various organizational and people-related assignments in the area of talent development, leadership development, organization design, and talent engagement. She is a certified assessor and have been part of assessment panel for leadership development with various organizations. I want all of you to please join me in honoring Pooja with the Torchbearer Award. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we have to put up the award.
Yes. No, and
Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you very much.
Pooja, we would love to hear you.
Okay, great. So thank you, Mr. Hari. Thank you, Juhi, and thank you, the entire HSSE team. I think it really made my day. I think bringing out change in any organization is very tough because change is always painful. And, unless and until you have leaders who, have a very open mindset, and in fact, the team, because that's when the change happens. And so I think I'm really excited to have this award. And thank you. all of you.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you so much. Juhi, let's read the citation for her, please.
Yes. So we honor Pooja on the occasion of our HR ConQ-Lave 2020, the torch bearer, and the certificate is presented to Pooja Nath, founder of Metaphor Consulting, for ideating and executing HR interventions that have positively transformed workplace culture. Many congratulations, Pooja.
Thank you, Juhi. Thanks a lot. And thanks, Mr. Hari, once again.
Thank you, Pooja. And all the best. And I'm sure you'll continue to do a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes. With
And
that, we
thank you
conclude
to
the awards.
all attendees for joining us for this award ceremony. And we now move on with our third speaker, Mr. A.S. Narayanan. Mr. Narayanan is a management postgraduate from Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi, and is skilled in business planning, sales, bank assurance management, and management information systems. He is the founder and CEO of Reach HCon Group, which provides insurance consultancy to organizations, including PSU, banks, private banks, and NBFCs, microfinance companies, and bodies like IBA and BSE. He has recently made his debut as an author of a book on leadership titled Leadership Gita. Mr. Narayanan will talk about how organizations can break through by building leaders who have a strong sense of environment and can function efficiently in an overcharged VUCA world. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Narayanan.
Are you ready?
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, Juhi, you can put off the screen, and I'll just want to take the opportunity to welcome Narayan personally. Thank you so much for joining us. And Narayan, great friend, great mentor, if I might say so, because we have had so many years of association. Fantastic entrepreneur. You can learn from him how to scale up a business beautifully. And now also I'm very proud to say a co-author. So we both wrote Leadership Gita. And today, after his session, we're going to do, we're going to do that, Narayan, later on. There's going to be a formal book launch of the Leadership Gita. And this is the first public showcase of Leadership Gita. And there is something in it for all of you, which I will announce after the session. Over to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Hari, and thanks a lot, Juhi, for that lovely introduction. Because we are on a digital platform, I'll just add a couple of more things that might be of relevance. In my journey, also you talked about being a consultant, but I also run a tech company, and we've raised funding from overseas investors to the extent of $1.35 million, and we have scaled up the technology platform. So we provide a technology platform called Mextra, which is quite popular and runs in over 40 corporates, but it's mostly for the larger corporates. Like, for example, part of it is with Wipro, Times of India as a client, and so on and so forth. Also, a little bit on the topic that I'm going to talk about, which is leadership. So what's my credibility to that is obviously a question that anybody should be asking. So I was in senior positions for several years, but I left a large organization, Bajaj Allianz, as the chief distribution officer there. And at that point of time, the combined as head of sales, we had about 13,000 employees who through various departments would fall under my structure. And we did grow the business a lot during that period. And at that point of time, I always thought of the various things that come to play, when you are a leader and you have a larger responsibility towards the organization, towards your team, and towards your clients at large. And some of those experiences, along with Hari, who put that genesis of the idea into my head that I should be writing a book. And since he had written books earlier, we co-authored this book called Leadership Gita. We'll talk about it a little bit more. But that's why I'm here to talk about leadership today. It's one of my favorite subjects. So one would say, typically, what is leadership? You can define it in multiple ways, but the way we've defined it in the book and the way I like to understand it is the ability to handle complexity. So leadership is nothing but the ability to handle complexity, and complexity could be in the terms of the task, in terms of the team, in terms of the objective, and a combination of all these things, and the environment, the people that you work with. So the ability to handle all this and navigate through all this is the complexity is what we believe is a leadership. Right. Now, when it comes to leadership, there are 6 aspects, and we'll talk about it a little bit more maybe during the book launch. But the first and foremost, I would say, is purpose, because without purpose, it's very difficult to lead and lead people and lead yourself to do something. And today, I'll quote examples a little bit from Bollywood and a little bit from sports, because I think these are things that people like, appreciate, and understand. So when it comes to purpose, I always think of this movie, Chak De. I mean, many of you may have seen Chak De. So, initially everybody has their own objectives. Everybody is thinking of their own selves, their own states, their own goals, their own desires while they are part of a team. But the way Kabir Khan in that movie, which is of course played by Shah Rukh Khan, puts together the whole team and gives them a larger purpose. The larger purpose for playing for India, for the team. The team is larger than yourself, and how he drives all of them, including rivals, towards a common goal. The ability of a leader is to carry the purpose through. And if one can get the purpose right, then the team comes together. So everybody has to have the same sense of purpose with whatever is a task that you're trying to accomplish, whether it's a sales goal, whether it's an HR goal, whether it is any kind of goal that one is talking about. There has to be a single specific singularity of purpose, if I may say so. And if that purpose is clear and you're able to articulate it to your people then and yourself, then there is a very high chance that you'd be able to deliver on that purpose. Otherwise, of course, if your purpose is not well defined, then you live day to day and you do something to manage. And it's very difficult to lead people that way. And eventually they will see through you and it will all come apart at some point. So sense of purpose is very important. And of course, in the larger context, there are political leaders like Gandhi and Martin Luther King and a lot of people who have achieved a lot because they had a sense of purpose. So that is the first thing that I would like to highlight on leadership. Of course, the book will give you more insights. The second, I would like to narrate a story. The second is courage and self-confidence. It also comes from purpose. All of you have seen Rocky movies, the Rocky series, not Sanjay Dutt wala Rocky, the Sylvester Stallone wala Rocky, the boxing Rocky. I would like to keep it interactive. I mean, so Parul, Niharika, Gunjan, Sanjeevani, Juhi. Have you seen this movie called Rocky, Sylvester Stallone?
We can have more people on the video, please. I think that will be nice. Unless there are bandwidth issues.
Yeah, so have any of you seen this movie called Rocky? Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think they had multiple episodes of it. So who has seen it? Come on. Say no if you're not seen it. And I advise that you see at least part 1. Okay. So this movie is all about a boxer, which is played by Sylvester Stallone and his success and how he becomes world champion and all. But interesting aspect is that, how this movie came about. Sylvester Stallone was he had a lot of bad luck in life. His delivery itself was very difficult. In fact, he had to be removed with forceps and all, and he had paralysis. So one side of his face is paralyzed, and he's a top-notch actor. Think about the actor having, one side of his face paralyzed. He was a very poor guy, and initially to make money, he even did, I would not like to, go into details, but very, not desirable kind of roles in certain movies and all that. And his life was very difficult. But, he came up one day, he saw a fight between Muhammad Ali and Muhammad Ali's fight, and he was a fan of boxing, obviously. And he decided to make a movie about boxing. And he was very clear, clarity of purpose, and that leads to courage, that he will play that role himself. He had no money at this point of time. He had nothing. He was struggling. So he wrote the script of Rocky 1. And he went nobody would give him even an appointment because he was nothing. I mean, he was absolutely nothing. But he spent almost 2-3 years going from people to people. And finally, somebody really liked the story. So they said, at that stage when he had no money, somebody gave him a huge sum, about $100,000, and said, you can take this money and give us the story, and we will play someone else as the lead because you can't act. Your face is paralyzed and all. But he was so clear, he was so poor at that point of time. He said, no, I will only act in it myself. And he did this till finally the movie was made. He played Rocky, and the rest, as you know, is history. And he became one of the biggest stars, and it became one of the biggest hits, and 6 episodes were cast. At least six, sequels were made. I don't know if more were meant, but it's an amazing story. It's a true story, and that's the courage of a person. So that second aspect of leadership is courage and self-confidence. So that's great. That's a very important aspect for any leader to have. And that when the testing times are there, that is the time when this courage and confidence aspect really comes out in leaders. And if you have that, then you can very well lead people. The third aspect I would like to talk about is, teams and trust and empowerment. It's basically about leading a team. So when you are leading a team, how do you think of it? Let's again talk about sports. Okay, let's say you are Dhoni, and Dhoni was the captain of India for many years, as you know, and he was a very successful captain. He won us the World Cup, as you all know, and many other tournaments. There was nothing, hardly everything that India could win, probably it won under him. Of course, Saurabh had done a great job, and he inherited a decent team. But when it comes to managing a team, you have different players in the team. You have, on one hand, players like Virat Kohli and maybe Gautam Gambhir and others who are well established at that point of time. And you have some newcomers like maybe Bumrah and others who came along later. So as a leader, is it that everybody is treated the same way by you? No. So the thing is, Dhoni, as a leader, he could take everybody along, and depending on the person's strength and character and experience, he would treat that person differently and give him different roles. That's why the team became so successful. That's the same thing. You have to adapt your leadership style to your team. You'll have in your team members who are very experienced, probably some more experienced than you, members who are very good at a particular task. This is not one size fits all, like Gaurav said. Leadership is also about recognizing the strength of your team and utilizing the strengths of each person and treat them differently. It's also not a constant. It changes from time to time. So let's look at this. Somebody is a very experienced Ranji Trophy player. And so the way his captain would lead him would be very different. But then he gets his breakthrough and goes into India team, international team. Now he's a newcomer there. Now it's the same person. And this happens in organization all the time when people get promoted. Somebody is a manager at one level, maybe a regional level, but then he's promoted to a national role. So his boss treats him very differently than the boss who treat him at a senior level when he was a regional head, which he may have been doing for many years. That inputs that were needed for him were very different from the time that he's become a national leader, when he's a newbie at that job, and the kind of skills that are needed to be imparted to him are very different. It's the same person. He comes with a lot of experience, but now his role has changed and his requirements are different. So leadership also recognizes this, that the same person may need different inputs at different points of time. So it's about adapting to the situation, and it's also about empowering people. Empowerment is a very loosely defined, loosely used word. But when I say empowerment, what it means is trust. So you imagine, bosses there are who will just breathe down your neck, who will give you a task, and probably after every half an hour is, "Arey, kya hua? Iska kya hua? Arey, output kya hua?" You're more focused about managing your boss than the task. Because I don't want to name them, but they're called asshole managers, So they love to breathe down your neck. So that never works actually. So it's when you say empowerment, it also comes with trust. So as a leader, you coach, you develop the capability in your team, give them the task and empower them. And when you say empower, you do two things. You give them responsibility and you give them authority. Authority to decide on the task, on what they want to do and how they want to do, and the responsibility to deliver it. And you don't give micro details and breathe down their necks. That's how large teams can function. And that's how, Dhoni as a captain would work. He's always said this, that he gives the goal, he tells them what is expected broadly, and then he leaves it to them. They have the responsibility and the authority to deliver. So they whether want to play 1 over slow and then pick up, or whether they want to take more singles, or they want to do it in boundaries, he leaves it to them, but they know their roles and tasks. And, he's not a guy who's going to hold you sometimes you fail. So that's about, teams and team management. It's also covered a little bit more detail in our book, which you'll find very interesting. Here, I'd like to give another example also, and this comes from a movie. And again, I'm sure all of you love movies. So you all must have seen the movie Dangal, right? It was a super hit, and it's more recent than Stallone, maybe Rocky. So in Dangal, there's this dialogue, where Amir Khan talks to the coach of his daughter who's gone for wrestling, and he says, आप अगर सेवाग को राहुल बनाने जाओगे तो ना राहुल द्रविड़ बनेगा, but वो सेवाग भी नहीं रहेगा. So that is the thing about leadership, is to find the right people with the right skill set for the right roles and let them do it in their style. So by trying to make Sehwag technically perfect and play like a Dravid, he would not become a Dravid, but he would lose his skill as Sehwag. And this is something organizations always, by many a times I've seen many leaders fail in this. They want everybody to behave in the same way. No, that's not possible. And that's not a team. That's not a team. Then you're cloning everyone. A team requires different skill sets, different abilities, different temperaments, and that is complexity. And leading out through that is what is leadership. So that is a dialogue I really appreciate, and I could empathize with that dialogue. That Sehwag ko Dravid mat banao, and similarly Dravid Sehwag nahi ban pata. So the two are very important. I would also like to talk a little bit, about feedback, because in leadership, this is a very underestimated aspect. You need to give feedback for people to improve. But how do you give feedback? Firstly, when you give feedback, let's say you go on a sales call as a senior sales leader with someone. He would do probably, there are 5 things that needed to be done. Maybe he did 3 things well and 1 thing okay, and 1 thing he really screwed up. I mean, he did really badly. So what would you do? If you're giving him feedback, what are the things that you would do? Since this is more like a one-way session, I guess. So one of the things that I would do probably, and which I have done, is I will firstly, feedback is always private. If you're giving genuine feedback, don't give it in front of people, because any feedback also means that you're giving an area of improvement for the person, right? Typically, you talk about something for improvement, and people don't want to hear that in public. I mean, most people don't want. Some people have the maturity to take that in public, but give feedback in private. So the first cardinal rule about feedback is give it in private. Second is start with the positives. So if he did 3 things well, I think we need to talk about, because many leaders I've seen will jump into that one aspect that he did not do well and just berate him on that, rather than talk about the other 3 things he does well, because next time he's going to forget those 3 things which he did well, probably do them badly, and may or may not do the one area of improvement that you asked him to do. So it's better that one starts with the positive. One talks about the 3 things that he did well, encourage him. That also opens the person up to listen to feedback, because he knows here you're not here only to put him down. You're praising him, you're enhancing his self-confidence as his leader. And then you talk about the one area probably which he could have done better. And the idea here is not just to say, you did not do well, this is bad, you don't know how to talk, you don't know what, you pissed off the client. No, that's not the idea. You may say all that, but you also need to tell him how he should have done it, what he should have done probably, and give an example of something that you would have said or how you would have handled the situation a little differently, so that they can understand your feedback. So just telling someone, you know what, you're pathetic at a sales call. So how does this help? Or you're pathetic when it comes to introducing a client. How does that help? You need to be more specific when you give feedback. You need to be able to articulate what is it that the person should be doing different or better, or take a different approach, which is what is valid and constructive feedback. And this is something that leaders need to know and learn. This does not come naturally to most people, because we are supposed to criticize. But this is, again, a very important aspect of leadership. The last thing I would like to talk about a little bit is, leaving a legacy. So a leader always builds a legacy, and that comes through when you have a body of work, and when you treat people well, and you lead from the front, and you are capable in your own field, and you're humble. So we talk about so many people, but the people who leave legacies are the people you remember. So, for example, I would say many people would have led, GE in its journey as a company, 120, 130-year-old, whatever company. But everybody remembers Jack Welch, right? Because he left a legacy. many presidents were there of India, right? But you remember Abdul Kalam. Many people led ISRO, but again, you remember Abdul Kalam, the same person, two different roles. Many people were election commissioners, but you remember TN Seshan, right? So why is that? Because they left a legacy, and the way they conducted themselves with ethical behavior, leading from the front, being fair, standing up for what you believe, delivering on the task, and encouraging their people, even at the cost of giving them the credit and putting oneself at the back. But ultimately, they are the people who left the legacy. So leaving a legacy, a leader has to think through that. And if his behavior is right as a leader, then he will leave a legacy. And you always remember your leaders through their legacies. And if you think of the people who come to your mind as leaders, they are coming to your mind as leaders because they have left legacies. Many people may have been in that position, may have done that thing, but the person who comes to your mind is the person who has left the legacy, right? So I think I have covered what I wanted to broadly, and I hope you liked the session, because webinars are tough to hold interest in. I've tried my best, so thanks a lot for listening in, and I do hope that you'll read the book. There, I think you'll find it enjoyable. It's very simple. You can read it under 1 hour, I guarantee you that.
59 minutes.
59 minutes. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think we can take some questions. We have some time for questions, right, Juhi?
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
Yeah. So we can take some questions. If anybody has something to comment, ask a question, you can unmute and speak.
Thank you, Narayan. I think the session was really good. So a question from my side, I like the points a lot. And the last point, can you expand a little on how to leave your legacy?
So how to leave your legacy is a body of work, and that happens when you practice leadership for a longer period of time, right? So to do one task well or to do something well, so people who leave legacies behind are people who have bodies of work. So if you look at the film industry, which everybody understands, you take Amitabh Bachchan. I mean, he's left a legacy, right? There are many actors, but there's a certain kind of memory which comes to your mind, which is the body of work over a period of time. When it comes to sports, we talk about Formula One. You have, which is my favorite sport, you have Michael Schumacher, who left a legacy, and today Lewis Hamilton is leaving a legacy. So when you consistently practice leadership and you're consistently working as a leader, and you consistently stand by your team, you build a body of work, and that body of work then becomes enormous enough for a legacy to be left behind. You can't consciously say, I want to leave a legacy. You can say that, but it builds itself over a period of time. That I would not say is a trait of leadership, but it probably shows that the leadership you did was good, and it had its impact. I mean, that's the best way I can answer the question.
And,
it's very difficult to do one thing and be
remembered.
Yeah,
exactly. So you have to be consistent with the message that say that you go. So that will help you leave a legacy.
Absolutely.
And if also the people see that you're consistent with your messaging, I think that would be better, right?
Consistent with your messaging and true to your profession. So you see all these people, whether it's Sachin Tendulkar or whether it's Michael Schumacher or whether it's Amitabh Bachchan, whatever else, I'm not talking of their personal life, etc., etc. They're very consistent and truthful to their work, and you can see that. I mean, that's why it happens. They would be getting up at 5 o'clock, and even after, or Roger Federer, even after so many years, that motivation is there to go and for Sachin Tendulkar to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock and practice for 3 hours. He's never going to be dropped, but he probably still play if he didn't do that, and anyway would be in the team. But that's what helps you build that legacy, that sense of purpose, that strength. Yeah.
So, for example, SPB, whom we unfortunately lost recently, over a 40-year period, 45,000 songs. Now, that's an incredible legacy. Mohammad Rafi Saab or Kishore Kumar, Lata Mangeshkar, Asha Bhosle, and this is all a legacy. So it's the body of work, very rightly said. It's how passionately you work for 40, 50 years sometimes. It's incredible. Amazing.
Thank you, Narayan, for answering my question. Thank you.
Most welcome. Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone?
So,
or if you would
I
like to share
welcome
something.
Bharat Jethani. Wonderful to see you.
I joined it late, but I don't know whether I missed it out. So when leadership is there, there's success, a lot of success, right? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes, you are.
And with success, leaders carry attitude, ego, and when it comes to feedback, they don't see feedback as a positive feedback or something to improve. They look at it as a complaint or criticizing things, criticizing leadership in the organization. Now, how do you know that this leader can appreciate our feedback? That's a big challenge. Maybe some of the people who are working in the organization, they are in the right intention to improve the organization, improve the productivity, or improve the profits or whatever it is, and they give the right feedback. But is the leader taking that feedback? I mean, that's more important, and it may backfire them sometimes.
An extremely good question, and a very, very good question, and probably comes with a lot of experience that you asked that question.
Yeah.
So when I was talking of feedback, I was talking of feedback from the leader when you want to give a feedback to someone, which is much easier, obviously. When you're talking of feedback, so for example, if you want to give feedback to the prime minister of the country, he does 4 things well, but then he really screws up 4 things, let's say, right? So how do you give it to him if he's very arrogant and is not willing to listen, right? Or how do you give it to a person who is like India's current cricket captain, who comes across as a great cricketer, but sometimes very arrogant? So that's a very big dilemma for people who are working under very strong leaders. You perceive them to be very strong leaders, where they come as strong men, and strong men need not be necessarily strong leaders. Strong leaders are able to take good feedback. But your question is well appreciated. So there's a piece of advice only. I cannot really comment on this.
Yes.
One is that to give a feedback to somebody like that, first they need to trust you, and you need to win their confidence to give them feedback. So when you sense that if you're uncomfortable giving a leader a feedback, then your instinct is probably right, and in your best interest, just keep quiet. That's a practical sense of advice I can give anyone. And you will sense it when that person is comfortable. And again, but what I say, again, you say 2 good things before you give before you also give an input about what you want better. So you can say, you did the GST very well, and the intent behind 370 was very good, but this farm loss you should really think about, maybe. So so the person is more receptive when you give 2 good feedback and then talk about it. But instincts are normally right in these matters. So to give a leader a feedback coming from someone who's below, especially if you have a feeling that that leader may not take it in the right spirit, which is not correct, but you can't help it, right? So then you have to be winning his confidence before giving him the feedback, or in your own interest, it may be better to keep quiet.
And that is what a lot of people do it.
And
Yes.
generally it is observed
Very true.
that,
But eventually the tide changes.
and generally it's observed that strong personalities don't make great captains, whether in industry or whether in the field of cricket. And because they have so much expectations, and also the ego factor. And there are various examples. Ian Botham, for example, could not make a great captain. He's a celebrity in England. So, but he could not make a great captain. Tendulkar, for example. Can I say Donald Trump? I don't know, but I think yes, he could not win the second term. So some very strong personalities that don't tend to make good leaders. But a Saurav Ganguly was not a Tendulkar, but he became a great guy because of his leadership, and not just because of his playing talent. So, and in fact, in our book, we talk about Saurav Ganguly.
Yeah. So, but there's a difference between a strong leader and an arrogant leader. I think
Right.
A strong leader is good. An arrogant leader, and you also mentioned that leaders become arrogant over a period of time due to success.
Yes.
That happens, and that's when the tide changes for them typically, because then the people stop communicating, they stop telling, and eventually things go wrong. So that is one of the aspects of leadership, and it is a very important aspect to be able to listen and take feedback, which also incidentally we talked about in our book. Thanks for asking, Bharat, but it's a very valid question. But from the perspective of someone who wants to give a leader a feedback, if you don't sense the comfort, then don't give the feedback, because it might bounce, it might hit you really badly.
Yeah.
And HR does not typically tend to protect you. So there are always exceptions. There are always exceptions. But by the norm,
all
that's what would happen.
all the delegates, they didn't hear that last sentence.
Yeah, so
Can I share my input,
people should be
Narayan, on
awake
this?
through a session.
Yes, Belaji, please go ahead.
So Narayan, since we were talking about leadership here, I would like to add a little bit.
giving feedback to someone senior, but since we're talking about leadership, it is the style of leadership that we need to inculcate, where we say we lead by example.
Right.
Now, as leaders, we would be giving feedback to our team. So if I am open as a leader to receiving feedback in the upward direction, I am open, I perceive the feedback of my team members in a positive way and work towards it in a constructive manner. That would inculcate leadership in my team members in the form of accepting my feedback similarly.
Absolutely.
Right? So I think since we're talking about leadership, it is for the leader to portray these qualities of receiving feedback, and having an open communication with his team members, then probably analyzing it objectively before he works towards it.
Absolutely. Absolutely right, ma'am. Thanks for pointing that out.
So I think that it will just bring in leadership by example, a sample of leadership by example.
Yeah, very true.
Thank you, Bela ma'am. And Narayana sir, we do have more questions, but since we are running a little short of time, I would appreciate if you can answer questions in the chat box, or maybe we can share your contact details and participants can get in touch with you.
Definitely. So Hari, you can share my my details. You can.
Yes, I'll do that. Yeah.
Please write in your queries and I will do my best to answer them. I don't have all the answers, but I will do my best to answer them.
I think it's a very engaging discussion on leadership. It's a wonderful.
I would have loved to get this going on, but since we are committed to time, we are already behind schedule. So let's quickly move forward. First of all, thank you, Narayanan sir, for these insights and your amazing way of expressing the aspects of leadership through real life examples and Bollywood movies. That was an amazing session. Moving forward, we are now heading towards a very interesting section of this conclave. But before that, let me congratulate and thank Narayanan sir for this session. And we are now moving forward with the book launch. So here's a small music and then over to Hari sir.
So Joey, can I request everybody to come on video, please?
Yes.
So we get an opportunity to also see everyone.
See everyone, yes.
Yeah, so can I request everybody to put on your videos? Hey, that's nice. Everybody on videos, and then Narayan and me are going to hold our book. Yes, everybody on video, please. Can I request everybody on video?
आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तले आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तले
Yeah, Joey, if you can put off the screen now.
Yes, sir.
Stop there. Thank you. And so when I say 3, 2, 1, Narayan and me are going to hold our little baby. And okay, a little background. It's a 59-minute read, which took 1.5 years to compile. So as they say in public speaking, the shorter you want to speak, the longer you take to prepare. So when I initially wrote the script for the book and I took it to Narayan and asked him to take a look at it and give his inputs, it was so insightful. He changed the whole paradigm, and it was written as a pure fiction, but then we made it a realistic fiction. So I think thanks, Narayan. And one of the most enriching books out of the 7 that I have written, and one of the very important books in the current times also, what we call as the enhanced VUCA world. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It's getting enhanced every day. So we would love to be keynote speakers on leadership in any of the conferences or companies that you think you can organize. And both Narayan and me can come and speak about leadership. And he has given a lot of beautiful examples on the book itself in his talk and more. But I think the book will give you even better insights as you sit and read every page. So, sir, are we ready?
Yes.
So, Joey, as we hold the book, you can play the music again, if that is okay.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. So here we go. 5, 4. We are learning new ways of launching these days. 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So here is Leadership Gita.
आजा आजा जिंदे शामी आने के तले आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तले
Do we please take a screenshot? Do we please take a screenshot?
आजा आजा जिंदे शामी आने के तले आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तले
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And here's the announcement for all of you. Whoever attended the conclave and joined in the beginning and stayed till the end. So Bharat, I'm looking at you. So whoever attended this conclave, okay, whoever attended this conclave, whenever you joined, it's not important. Whoever attended this conclave, all of you are going to receive a copy of this book. It will be couriered to your address. Okay, so you need to share your mailing address. And you're going to receive printed hardbound copies. So what you will get on Amazon is a paperback, but what you are going to receive is a hardbound copy of the book Leadership Gita. So while Leadership Gita has it got something to do with Bhagavad Gita, all that you can figure out when you read the book. Yeah. So thank you so much. I think that was a beautiful experience of a book launch. And we were waiting for this conclave to, so the first public showcase, and you will hear more about the book as we go along. So, so you can receive the hard copy. You can also download and purchase from your own site, and you want to gift it to somebody, you know. And as I said, it's a very important topic, and leadership has never been as tested in the last so many years as this pandemic has. Remotely managing people working from home, people attending office sometimes. So it's an incredible topic to talk about, and that's going to be a little bit of my focus in my wrap-up session now, which is coming up. So once more, thank you so much, Narayan, for your time, for your insights, and absolute honor and pleasure to have you with us.
Of course, my pleasure.
At the HSSC Conclave.
It was really nice to meet all the participants, and I look forward to interacting with them more in the future. Thank you so much. And whatever queries, I'll be happy to answer.
Sure, I'll share your coordinates with them. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.
Many congratulations, Hari and Narayan, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Dilip. Thanks a lot.
And I had already purchased this book a month ago, but unfortunately couldn't get time to read it. But I'll do it today itself.
Yeah, please finish it and put your review. We need more reviews.
Definitely.
We need more reviews.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Narayan. Thank you so much. So, Julie, over to you.
So, not over to me. I'm handing over it back to you.
Back to me.
Then I'm taking this liberty also to squeeze in your time.
Yes.
So you will have to quickly give us your mantra of the LEAP model of HR in 10 minutes.
No. So I'm going to do it less than 10 minutes.
Wow. Superb.
Joey can't believe that Hari is going to talk less. There's a gross misunderstanding that I love my own voice so much that I don't allow others to speak. But you've seen how well behaved I have been throughout this conflict. So okay, so thank you so much. I think one of the things we practice in HSSC is to try and start on time and more or less try and end on time. So I think we're very much on track. We have done with everything. All that is left is a little insights from my side. It's a summing up session on what is called as a LEAP model. How HR can leverage the LEAP model for overall well-being of organizations. Now, I'm just going to give the LEAP model as a model. I'm not going to dwell too much deeply into it because I had the opportunity to do this session at one more HR conference. So it's already recorded. So I'll post the video in the WhatsApp group. and you can actually look at the full session. So that will be for about 30-40 minutes. But here I'm just going to give you a little mantra, which is more like a summing up of the conclave. So basically, what does LEAP stand for and how HR can make a difference in the overall well-being of organizations? One is learning and leadership. It's already beautifully covered by L is for learning and leadership. It's beautifully covered by Gaurav Bakshi in terms of how we need to now start changing the learning paradigms and move from just one kind of learning to a different way of learning. And Narayan has already spoken about leadership, the importance of leadership, in an enhanced VUCA world, and what are the various dynamics of leadership. And I think if you ask me, the one thing if you correct in an organization and everything falls into place is the leadership culture. We can just correct the leadership culture in organizations, and who better than HR to do that, right? So L is for learning and leadership. Now E is for employee engagement and ethics. Now I don't want to dwell too much into employee engagement because typically that's a very basic what do you call raw material consumption for HR. It's something very basic that they're constantly trying to do. But I want to, but employee engagement paradigms have now changed in the pandemic. So how do you engage people remotely? So I have got requests from HR people, can you do a module for us? People sitting at home and working, how do we engage them? Can you suggest a game? Can you suggest an activity? I think we need to start getting more innovative in the way we engage people, also engage our employees. The second, the most important thing to my mind is ethics. What is the role that HR can play in today's world in character building? There is this beautiful a documentary on Netflix called as Bad Boy Billionaires, where it showcases 3 industrialists who have made a lot of money. However, they are now under the scanner of the law, and it's all about violating processes, morals, ethics, legal, the legalities, and then trying to make money. So one of the things my boss taught me was, I want this business by hook or by another hook. I don't want it by crook. And this whole thing about I want business at any cost has landed us where we are today. It's almost very interesting that sometimes I feel animals are buying tickets to see human beings in the zoo, which was the case 7 to 8 months back. We were buying tickets and visiting them in the zoo. But now they are probably buying tickets and visiting us in the zoo. Look where we have landed ourselves, because we are not following ethics. We are not following the right kind of character building in organizations. Kuch bhi kar dhanda labh. It just doesn't work. We have already seen the results of that. A is for attributes. And it's nothing but competency building. Now, Gaurav Bakshi spoke about a very important element which is misunderstood in various ways, which is called as ROI, return on investment. Now, what is return on investment? Is it only profit? Is it only shareholder value? Is it only about the money that you have made because of attending a training program, or because of the activities that you do? I think the biggest return on investment for training or any HR engagement is competency. After my session, after my intervention, after my coaching, after my mentoring, where was I able to add to the overall CQ of the organization? What is CQ? Competency quotient of the organization. Was I able to do that? If I was able to do that, then quite honestly, that's the best ROI that I can get. And I always tell people in training and development, training cannot produce results. It cannot impact results. It can only impact the person who will get the results. Our job is to impact the people in the right way so that they get results in the right way. And the last P is for performance enabling. Today, more and more, it's becoming critical for HR to be seen as business HR. and not just as intellectual HR. Something which is just giving gyan, something which is just putting frameworks in place or processes in place. What's the result on the ground? And performance happens because of the hunger to perform. And I think I love Virat Kohli there, because when I see him, I see the hunger to get results. And he also follows the processes, which is brilliant. Many people follow the process, but they don't have the hunger for result. Some people have the hunger for result, but they don't want to follow the process. It's like breaking the traffic signal and, trying to be a smart driver. But there is a Virat Kohli who teaches us that I follow the process, my practice, my credentials, my credibility, my focus, my preparation, my hard work, and also I have this hunger to get results. And I think, can HR also develop that hunger for results and enable people through coaching, mentoring, right kind of training, some kind of motivation? And I think HR has such a big role to go and reinvent itself first, in a way that we add value intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually to people, in our organizations. So that's what LEAP is all about: learning and leadership, engagement with employees, employee engagement and ethics. A is for attributes, which is competency building, and I think, and P is for performance enabling. But if I were to pick out just one thing out of the LEAP, it would be competency building. If I can make my people competent enough to deliver the results that I desire, then I think that's the most fabulous return on investment that you can give to your organization. It's all about capability building. It's also about capacity building. Today, there is a shortage of capacity. And there has always been a problem with capability, but there's also a shortage of capacity today. So how do you enhance capacity? How do you enhance capability? That's what the LEAP model is all about. And I'm going to share the more detailed session that I have done with all of you on WhatsApp. And you're most welcome to watch that. Put your comments on the YouTube channel, or you can write to me, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions. If one or two people have any quick questions to ask right now. So that's what LEAP is all about. And I think Julia did a very good job with my time management.
Yes, indeed. Any questions currently?
Good afternoon, Hariharan sir. This is Gopinath here.
Yes, Gopinath.
I had one question regarding your competence quotient.
Yeah.
I think what important thing that comes before competent quotient is your skill mapping. How that is one thing that many organizations like, because especially in today's scenario, where you require a different skill set, to address the challenges that the pandemic has thrown.
Yes.
So how do you map this skill, like whether these people have got the requisite skill in them to address these challenges, or what more needs to be done to enhance their skill? So can you just throw some light on this?
Yeah, so competency, the way it is defined, a lot of times competency is only understood as skill or capability, but it's actually a combination of will and skill. I may have the will, I may not have the skill. So that does not make you competent. I may have the skill, but I may not have the will. That still does not make you competent. So the HR fraternity, and for me, human resource is not just a department. Every team manager, every person who is responsible for people handling is a human resource, is part of HR. And we need to work at both the levels. We need to work at the will level, and we also need to work at the skill level. And that's what makes a person competent.
No, is there any tools available today to measure the? For example, there is a. Sorry to little bit extend my question.
No worries. No worries.
Like for example, there is a opening in an organization. Now you want to decide whether we should get an external candidate to fill that opening, or somebody internally who can take up that position. So in my past experience, what I have observed, it becomes very difficult to understand whether somebody in-house has got the requisite skill to
Right.
take on that position, because there are no proper
Absolutely.
processes or tools
so,
available
sir,
to measure the skill.
Yeah. So what we have done is, that's why we came up with the Kai product, which
Okay.
actually helps us to understand the training requirements within an organization. And in its own way, it does the existing competency mapping, and it also shows the path for the way ahead. So, sir, I would like to connect with you separately, and we can have a more detailed chat on this.
Fine.
Yeah,
Fine.
it's a beautiful question, and it requires a little bit more in-depth understanding.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Juhi, I think it's time to wrap up.
Yes, sir.
But before that, I want to bring one person on video and request that person to come on video. Asha Gala, my teacher from my SIS college. When I was a student in SIS college in Mumbai, and she has always been very kind to attend our sessions and bless us. So, ma'am, if you can just take a minute, share your thoughts and bless the audience here. So it will be wonderful. You need to unmute yourself, ma'am. Yeah. You're on screen now. Ma'am, you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. All very young people. I think Hari has this knack of putting me in, I won't say very embarrassing, but yeah, catch me at the right moment. Today I thought I'll not put on the video. Whatever gray hair that I have, people need not see, but that has not worked. Like, okay, that's only thing is a wow moment right now. It's like how the granny feels like, okay, this is 3.5 decades back that Hari being in a classroom or in the community, from campus to community link, and all that leadership and leap model that he's talking about. Now he makes it more professional. Maybe paisa bhi banta hai, like, okay, reputation bhi banta hai, bahut sare authorship वगैरह, like, okay. But then the day I remember Hari, he's been like this. He's improved a lot. Of course, today when he finished in 7.5 minutes, I was timing you, by the way, yeah, Hari.
Okay.
Instead of 10, so you gave 2.5 minutes to others to ask you questions. So, great human being, very frank, committed, passionate, and all. And I feel very happy to see that this type of development where we have my return of investment is this, that after 3.5 decades I feel like attending HR ConQ-Lave organized by him. In fact, my daughter was wondering since morning. She said, what are you busy with? We decided other household things like cleaning and arranging for some tomorrow's guest arrival menu and all. So I said, oh, all that can be happening later. Right now I'm busy. And she wondered what was happening. So I said, this is more important. And I think that's my return on investment. I'm extremely proud of Hari. And he's built a team. Best part is networking, the attitude of giving it back, like Vidya Vardate Eva Nityam. That is what said, and Vidya Dhanam Sarva Dhanam Sreshtham, like, okay. So I'm extremely happy that his multiplier effect, that I don't know how much of economics he remembers because he turned to more political side, like, okay, later on. But his effort to give back to the society in terms of knowledge and with the right attitude, I wish him all the best. I would certainly read a book, and it's coming complimentary. Even
absolutely. Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So
thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Entire team, Juhi, well done. And I think I must say, resource persons, extremely well spoken, very knowledgeable, and to the point. Like, okay, all of you were wonderful. For a person like me, I can be very snobbish and thinking that I know everything. But no, I had a lot to take back, and thank you for that. Like, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
To all of you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So before we're going to take the last 3 minutes now, but some of you are not on video. Can I request you to be on video? We take a screenshot, and all of you please smile, look very happy. Yeah. Thank you. So Soumya, can I request you to be on video? Neil Ghosh. Okay, I can't see Gopinath sir. Yeah, Neil, hi, how are you? Wonderful. So, okay, let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Dilip Sharma and company, please give a wonderful broad smile, please. Yes, what a moment it's been. 2.5 hours of very enriching conversations. Request all of you to be on video because we're going to sign off in the next 2 minutes. But before I hand over to Juhi for closing remarks and the word of thanks, Juhi, first of all, can we play some music for the wonderful support given by Dilip and Parul for making this conclave happen today? Can we have a music for them? Can we have some music for them? And we'll applaud for Dilip Sharma and Parul Tripathi for the wonderful support and for the very unconditional support that they've given us towards the success of this conclave. Your audio is very risky.
No, I am just playing it. I haven't played it.
Okay. वो धोखा दे देता एकदम गलत टाइम पे.
No, it doesn't.
No? Okay. Thank you, Dilip and Parul.
I was built to be the best, number one and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, though I believe. I know I can count on me. So stand up for the champions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Parul.
Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up.
Thank you, Dilip and Parul. You've been wonderful colleagues. And thank you so much for the support for this conclave. Now, Juhi, I want you to play music for the wonderful work that you have done in making this conclave happen. So I'm asking you only to play the music for yourself. Yeah, so Juhi, can we have some music for yourself now? For the superb job that you have done in putting together this conclave. Without you, it was just impossible.
Thank you so much, sir. And this is the music I'll play for myself and for everyone else also, because taking out time on your off days and joining us, staying with us for so long has actually made us and given us the energy to present this conclave and bring this conclave to all of you. And this song is for all of us here.
Okay.
Is the audio audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
जो दिल से लगे उसे कह दो हाय 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 हाय, जो दिल ना लगे उसे कह दो बाय 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 बाय। आने दो दिल में आ जाने दो, कह दो मुस्कुराहट को हाय 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 हाय। जाने दो दिल से चले जाने दो, कह दो घबराहट को बाय 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 बाय।
Love you जिंदगी, love you जिंदगी, love you जिंदगी, love me जिंदगी।
Thank you.
Thank you,
Juhi,
so
and
much
for spending all those sleepless nights and answering my calls at 10 in the morning, 10 in the night, and responding to messages very late and putting up with me. Like Mr. Dilip Sharma always says, working with Hari is a misery. and he's still with me. So that means he's enjoying that misery. Yeah. Okay. So but thank you so much. I think I have no words to thank all of you. And thank you, Niharika. Thank you, Gaurav Bakshi. Thank you, Narayanan, for 3 absolutely enthralling sessions. So, Juhi, over to you for your closing remarks.
Thank you, sir. And I won't take a lot of time. We'll close in next 1 minute. And I want to thank everyone, all the attendees, speakers, and the award recipients. We appreciate your presence. And before we formally close, there's again a small announcement that we request you to please share your full name along with your address and your PIN code so that we can send you across your copies of the books. And we look forward for the great association in the future. We will be having these conclave now at a regular interval. This first Conclave at HSSE has given us that spark to keep it going. And it is all because of the presence of all of you. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, Hariharan Iyer, for giving this platform to showcase our talents and to be associated with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My
Can I say a few words?
Yeah, please.
Hari?
Yes, please.
Please.
Thank you, Hari, and thank you, HSSC, Juhi. Great job done. Parul, Dilip, all the members of HSSC. I think everyone spoke really well, and it was very informative as well for me to hear Mr. Narayan, to hear Gaurav. I think I was learning throughout this 2.5 hours, well spent. Okay, so looking forward to connecting with each one of you after this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to have a quick word before we close? Thank you, Niharika. Always a pleasure working with you and to have you on this forum also. So anybody would like to say something before one final, Dev sir, some final comments from you, sir.
Hari, my sincere thanks to you for this effort you have made. So, see, as a HR professional, we always look for people who contribute to the profession. And it's just a wonderful effort you people have made. I'm so thankful to you. And on behalf of all the HR colleagues present here, I'd like to thank you and your team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, Jui.
So we now formally close this conclave with in Hariharan sir's style and with a song.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much.
आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तल है, आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तल है। आजा आजा जिंद शामी आने के तल है, आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमाने के तल है।
Thank you. Thank you so much. So you'll all receive a copy of your book. Give me some time. I'll get that organized. And thank you so much. So let's stay connected. The WhatsApp group is on, so you can continue to interact and network, connect, share your ideas. And you can also post your feedback about the conclave and what do you think we can do better and what we can do in a better and bigger way the next time. So you're most welcome to share your feedback.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
You can stop the live one.
Thank you.
So Jui, Parul, Dilip, we can stay back for 5 minutes.